When collectors tore open our first wax packs of 1984 Topps baseball cards, as another cold winter yielded to the hope of spring, we had no way of knowing just how significant those little rectangles of cardboard would become. But looking back, it's easy to see they were no ordinary baseball cards. No, nestled there beneath the waxy shield and cuddled in close to sugary pink confection of summer were tiny paper time machines. And if we had paid attention, those cards would have given us a glimpse of America's near future. And now, more than 3 decades later, they can transport us back to a simpler time and remind us what promise is all about. All about the team. As temperatures warmed out of the deep freeze in 1984, Americans turned our thoughts towards the Summer Olympics, which would be held on the United States soils for the first time since 1932. In the midst of the Cold War and on the heels of the American boycott of 1980 Olympics in Moscow, the Soviet Union announced on May 8 that they would sit out the Los Angeles Games. 13 of their allies followed suit, and the noose of nuclear threat tightened. Although there were some rumblings that an Olympics without Soviets would be cheapened, the overwhelming American response was to turn our focus inwards. We were America. We were hosting the Olympics, and we were going to dominate the competition no matter who did or did not show up for the festivities. We were going to be united front against the world, a team. By the time the USSR dropped their diplomatic athletic bomb, baseball fans were getting a look at another united team, the likes of which many of us had never seen before. The Detroit Tigers opened the 1984 season with a 9-0 run before finally losing to the Kansas City Royals on April 19th. By May 8th, they were 24-4 and streaked all the way to 35-5 before settling into a more normal dominant pace that left no doubt who was the odds-on favorite to win the World Series come October. Meanwhile, the Chicago Cubs and the San Diego Padres were already looking like they might give fans a summer to remember. Throughout the game and all across the nation, everyone was talking about the teams. And Topps was there for us, accentuating our focus on the club with every new pack of cards. A block off the old Pip. In 1983, Topps scored a big design victory by dusting off the bones of their 1963 issue and updating it for a new generation of collectors. The large action photos combined with a small circular headshot to produce a picture-in-picture, or PIP, effect that designed most collectors. Never one to let an opportunity bleed an idea dry go to waste, Topps revised their 1983 design for 1984. The large action shots were still there, as were the headshots, but with a twist. Rather than being confined to a coin spot of real estate, the cameos protruded from a square of solid color, and this time around all of the headshots were anchored to the lower left corner of the card, whereas the 1983 versions had alternated from side to side, depending on the aesthetics of the individual card. But the dominant design element of a typical 1984 Topps baseball card is the team name in large block franchise-colored letters running vertically down the left side and ending just above the player's head. It's as if Topps knew we'd all be clinging to team allegiances like never before as the summer heat wore us down. The relegation of player name and position designation in small block letters, same color as the team name, to a trailing rectangle underneath the main photo served to sharpen the club focus even more. Collectors tend to be ambivalent towards the 1984 design. On the other hand, it's a garish and fitting tribute to the me 80s, and folks tend to either love or hate the decade itself. On the other hand, the huge team names made it easy to sort the cards by franchise if you desired. Of course, thanks to Topps' indecipherable numbering scheme, you couldn't put your cards in order by team and by number like you could with the Fleer counterparts. But the 84 Topps cards were great for collectors, and that trend continued when you flipped the cards over. The first thing you're likely to notice about 1984 Topps card backs is the jarring explosion of purple and red ink of varying shades. But once your pupils stop spazzing and you regain your focus, you're greeted with a handsome team logo in the upper right-hand corner of the horizontal obverse. The other corner contains the Topps logo and the card number, with the player name and a block of vital information nestled in between. Below all of that is the ubiquitous complete major league batting/pitching record, spawning ground for thousands of future sabermetricians, and a distinguishing factor that other companies never quite seem to master as well as Topps. Overall, the basic 1984 Topps design is distinctive and represents a mashup of sorts. Squint your eyes and you can see elements of several classic Topps sets, including 1983, 67, 64, 63, and 58. In the broader sense, you might even throw in 1954 through 1956, thanks to the dual image concept. Of course, design alone can't always push a card set to the top of the heap, and that was especially true in 1984, when both Donruss and Fleer stepped up their games considerably. Luckily for Topps, they had plenty of tricks up their card sleeves, and packed their base set with all sorts of special goodies. Topps, the career leaders. Although the old gum company was feeling the footsteps of its competitors more than ever as 1984 dawned, there was no denying that Topps was still king of the world in terms of overall bodies of work. You might say they were the career leaders in producing awe-inspiring swatches of cardboard. Perhaps playing on that theme, Topps hit on an idea that was completely novel at the time: active career leaders cards. In particular, Topps picked out 9 key statistical categories and dedicated a horizontally oriented card to the career leaders for the stats in each league. For instance, National League Active Career Hits Leader card featured a rectangular headshot of Pete Rose, 3,990 hits, flanked by Rusty Staub, 2,685 on the left, and Tony Pettis, 2,588 on the right. The card back shows the top 10 hits leader in the National League at the time on the left, and the right-hand side shows the all-time Major League Baseball list, with Ty Cobb still on top. By combining these all-time greats with the bold red, white, and yellow color scheme, Topps made sure their special cards really stood out. No easy feat in this set. Topps issues of the era were always loaded with special subsets, but the 1984 version is especially packed. The full roster of focus subsets includes 1983 highlights cards 1 through 6, team leaders starting with card 11 and scattered throughout the set, managers starting with card number 21 and scattered throughout the set, checklist starting with card number 114 and spaced about every 100 cards from there on out, 1983 league leaders cards number 131 through 138, All-Stars, cards number 386 through 407, Active Career Leaders cards, number 701 through 718. That's a lot of special for one set, but it's worth noting that 3 of those 1983 highlight cards featured 3 players each. The last, number 6, commemorates the simultaneous retirements of Johnny Bench, Gaylord Perry, and Carl Yastrzemski. As a fan who was just making my entrance to the game as Bench was exiting, I can tell you that his farewell was in no way a highlight, but I can't blame Topps for trying. And try they did. In fact, the only way Topps could have crammed in more specials would have been to include a bevy of rookie stars, as they had for several years throughout 1982. But just because there was no designated first-year cards, that doesn't mean Topps missed the rookie card boat. In fact, for several years, a pair of rookies formed the collective. Straw that stirred the hobby drink. In 1983, young Darryl Strawberry of the New York Mets excited collectors like few rookies before him. Together with the Chicago White Sox Ron Kittle, number 480, Strawberry helped usher in an era of big first-year mashers who would help drive the hobby to new heights throughout the 1980s. Collectors were eager to snag his first-year regular issue Topps card, making early sales of the 1984 product brisk and encouraging thousands, maybe millions of schoolyard trades across the nation. While Strawberry's strong sophomore stats made a cardboard slowdown unlikely, the emergence of Don Mattingly in the Bronx ensured that all 3 1984 sets would stay in the limelight throughout the season. Mattingly had been relatively unsung as he worked his way through the New York Yankees minor league system in the late 1970s and early 1980s, but he exploded onto the national scene in 1984 by catapulting to the top of the leaderboard for the American League batting crown. He would eventually snatch the title from teammate Dave Winfield, batting a .341 to the veteran's .340. Though he wasn't a rookie, Mattingly gave collectors a rare treat for the era, a breakout season while his rookie card was still available in current wax packs. Not surprisingly, Strawberry and Mattingly were the key cards in the 1984 Topps set and its Donruss and Fleer counterparts for a decade or more. At their peak in the late 1980s, each card would set you back at least $20 in raw condition. And even though neither player lived up to the lofty lifetime goals we had for them, they finished with solid careers laced with streaks of true greatness. Today, the Mattingly and Strawberry rookies are still a key in the set, but you can pick them up in nice condition for just a couple of bucks each on eBay. Graded mint copies of the Mattingly issue will set you back closer to $50, while Strawberry checks in around $15 in that shape. Move up to PSA 10, and you're looking at well over $100 for either player. Read us our rights. We weren't home, Bly Levin. In reality, it's been pretty easy for Mattingly and Strawberry rookies to shine through the decades, because the other rookie cards in the set have had about as much impact on the hobby as a balled-up sock thrown against a boulder.
Among the luminaries are Craig Lefferts, Brian Harper, Bill Kruger, Bill Doran, Andy Van Slyke, Jose Oquendo, Tom Candiotti, Jeff Russell, Tony Phillips, Alejandro Pena, Kevin Gross, Spike Owen, Gary Reedus, and Pete O'Brien.
Not the stuff of dreams, though some of these guys forged solid careers, and Reds fans have fond memories of Doran and Reedus. Fortunately, the 1984 Topps set features plenty of other guys who invoke fond memories for fans across the full baseball spectrum. Among the superstars and future Hall of Famers who remain popular in this issue are
Robin Yount, Wade Boggs, Paul Molitor, Reggie Jackson, Ozzie Smith, Dale Murphy, Andre Dawson, Ricky Henderson, Tony Gwynn, Pete Rose, Tim Raines, Steve Garvey, Lou Piniella, Tommy John, Dave Winfield, Nolan Ryan, Cal Ripken, Raleigh Fingers, George Brett, Joe Torre, Alan Trammell, Jim Rice, Carlton Fisk, Tony La Russa, Ryan Sandberg, Rod Carew, Phil Negro, Rich Gossage, Lou Whitaker, Mike Schmidt, Dwight Evans, Bruce Sutter, Tom Seaver, Dennis Eckersley, Jim Palmer, Dave Parker, Steve Carlton, Art Blyleven.
Wow, quite a list of baseball bigwigs, huh? And that's not exhaustive either. There are plenty of fan favorites that I didn't specifically call out here. In any case, this roll call is dripping testament to just how magical the era was, and it's amazing that you can still buy most of these guys for well less than $1 a pop today. How you got them, what you got, and what else you could get. If you wanted to buy 1984 Topps cards back in the day, you didn't have the luxury of surfing over to eBay, but you did have the convenience of picking up some packs at your local store. Topps gave you a variety of purchasing options too, in case the venerable wax pack didn't float your boat for some reason. Among the ways 1984 Topps was offered to collectors, info courtesy of Baseball Cardpedia and others. Wax packs, 15 cards, a game card, and a stick of gum per pack. 36 packs per box, 30 cents per pack. Cello packs, 28 cards and a stick of gum per pack. 24 cards per box, 49 cents per pack. Wax packs, 54 cards and one of 22 All-Star glossy cards per pack. 24 packs per box, 99 cents per pack. Sugarless rack packs, 36 cards and 3 sticks of sugarless gum per pack. Factory sets from JCPenney, Christmas sets. That's a pretty good array of purchase options, and it served to get Topps in front of collectors everywhere. But Topps being Topps, and 1984 being the first year when both Donruss and Fleer could legitimately challenge the old gun company for card quality, Topps wasn't content with peddling their base set. Instead, they upped the ante all across the board and cranked out a lineup of parallels and standalone issues that could satisfy just about any hobbyist, and in many ways foretold the future of the hobby. In particular, Topps graced us with Tiffany set, limited to 10,000 complete factory boxes. These cards were identical to the 1984 base issue, except they featured premium white cardstock, extreme gloss finish front and back, and a limited print run, and of course a higher price tag. Collectors had been clamoring for these features for years, and Topps delivered on them a good half-decade before Upper Deck made them the norm. Today, the complete Tiffany set sells for $200 to $500 depending on the overall condition. A set of 40 glossy send-ins obtained by Yes, sending in a certain number of game cards pulled from base packs. Each mailing netted you 8 cards. Top supers. huge 4 7/8 by 6 7/8 exact replicas of 30 base cards from the 1984 Topps issue, one of my favorite special sets of all time. Gallery of Immortals, 12 metal replicas of regular issue cards at 1/12 scale. The standard and ubiquitous sticker set, 386 in all. An exact 792 card parallel issued for candy maker Nestle to hawk as a send-in premium and sporting the Nestle logo. A 396 card O-Pee-Chee parallel issued in Canada. The usual 132 card traded set. It appears lackluster now, but was absolutely loaded when it was issued, thanks to rookie cards of Dwight Gooden, Brett Saberhagen, and Mark Langston, and popular new uniform cards of Pete Rose and Tom Seaver. In all, it was Herculean, Olympic-level effort by Topps in 1984, and Team Gum could rightly be proud of themselves. But as happens so often in sports and in life, change was in the air. Of course, some things almost never change. By October of 1984, the U.S. had romped through a dominant performance at the LA Olympics. President Ronald Reagan was a clear favorite to win re-election and would in fact score a historic landslide victory the next month. And on the diamond, the Detroit Tigers marched fearlessly toward their destiny as one of the greatest teams of the later part of the 20th century. Meanwhile, Cub fans clutched to an uneasy optimism, bolstered by the Cubbies' ability to recover from a mid-season swoon that saw them fall to third place to outdistance the rest of the National League East. They'd faced the surprising San Diego Padres in the NLCS, so maybe 1984 was the year, finally? Chicago supporters need not have wasted their energies because the Cubs ended up where they always did, at home on their couches during the World Series. Oh, and they gave everyone a good rise by winning the first 2 games in the best-of-5 series. But the Padres swept 3 in San Diego for the right to be eaten by the Tigers, and eaten they were, 4-1. Funny thing about those playoffs was the weak team among the 4 final contenders was the Kansas City Royals, the only club among them who had any recent postseason experience. But in today's parlance, their window was closing, and they were lucky to have toiled in baseball's weakest division, the AL West. How shocking, then, that those same Royals would be the ones who would win the whole ball of wax the next year, while the other 3 champs from 1984 got an early start on their winter bellies. And in fact, Kansas City would secure 2 titles before any of the other 3 even won one, the Cubs in 2016. In many ways, Topps found themselves in the same place as the Royals in 1984. The old gum company was fighting off the wolves at the door, and they issued what many considered to be the weakest set of the year. But they went all in and kept fighting, even when everyone said they were outclassed. And then they came back in 1985, and 1986, and 1987. And every season since, just like they had every season before, stretching back to well before most of us were born. Love them or hate them, Topps has always been there, and they'll probably be there another 30 years. Just like the game itself, Topps sets provide an almost invariant backdrop against which to mark the summers of our lives and the journeys of our wax pack gods. Do you remember how it felt to root for your favorite team as a kid? Thumb through a stack of 1984 Topps baseball cards, and you will. Like our video? Then like our videos and subscribe to our channel. waxpackgods.com